Hi everyone, we're starting the live video shortly. We will just wait for a few people to see that we've started. It's just turned on 2 o'clock, so we'll just wait a little bit for people to join us. My name is Tara Whitney, for anyone who doesn't know. I run Whitney Consulting. We write grant applications, tenders and business cases. So we're talking today about how to show an assessor that you're reliable. So how to demonstrate reliability to somebody who's assessing your application, whether that be a grant application, a tender submission or a business case. So we'll just wait a little bit longer for a few people to join us. I am bang on 2 o'clock, so I'll just wait for people to get on board. So I think before we start, though, in talking about how to show an assessor that you're reliable, just want to quickly address the situation that we're in at the moment. So we obviously are in the middle of a pandemic, and I have had many people asking me, what does that mean? What does that mean for grant funding? What does that mean for my application that's already been submitted, or that I know that there's a particular grant program opening? What's going to happen in the middle of this pandemic? Is that grant program still going to run? So really, I mean, obviously nobody has really strict answers to anything at the moment. The situation is changing every day. However, in terms of grant funding and government funding coming through in a situation like this, what past experience has told us is that when we are in such a dire economic situation, government will spend. So they will want to spend on infrastructure projects in particular to get people employed, to get them out there working. Any projects that are going to have an economic growth or an economic development aspect or create jobs. So any of those sorts of projects, government is going to be really interested in at the moment. So if you have a project that you're planning and have got started, you want to get that shovel ready. You want to get that as ready as possible so that in this crisis time, the government can spend on projects that are going to develop jobs and the economy. So I did write a blog on this. I've written a blog on what will happen with grant funding in the pandemic, and it is on our website at www.whitneyconsulting.com.au. Essentially, we don't know what's going to happen with every grant program, but realistically, most of the grant programs will still go ahead. They'll go ahead as they were intended. They may get changed slightly. You may experience a delay in your application being assessed at the moment because obviously government is running around like crazy trying to get everything organised, trying to get their staff working from home. So you may just have to be patient with any applications that are already in at the moment. But I do not expect grant funding to stop. I do not expect it to slow down. In fact, I expect it to be the opposite. I do expect government to start spending even more to try to get the economy moving. So I really would encourage you, if you have any projects that are particularly economic development focused, if the focus is on social aspects, it may not have the priority as anything that is economic and jobs focused to try to get people employed again. The blog is on my website if anyone wants to read about the blog that I wrote about grant funding in a pandemic. Also, Alex, who works for me, has written a blog about working from home with children. So Alex has been tackling that for a little while now and thought she'd share her advice and experience with you because I know a lot more people are going to be working from home with kids in the background in the future, as am I at the moment, as are lots of people already. So that blog is also on the website if you wanted to have a look at that. Now, to cover off what we were going to talk about, so if a few people have joined us now, so my name is Tara Whitney. I run Whitney Consulting, which writes grants, tenders and business cases. And we are talking today about how to show an assessor that you're reliable. So showing an assessor that you're reliable is essentially demonstrating the capability of your organisation. So you must ensure that your application or your tender or your business case demonstrates that your organisation is capable. Now, to do this, you need to talk about how you are going to manage your project. So first off is your project management. So who is going to do it? What is their experience? What tools will they use? Will you use some project management software? Exactly how will they manage the project and get it from beginning to completion? So that's one of the aspects of the capability of your organisation. The other is governance. So how is your organisation governed? Who is going to oversee that project manager? Who is going to make sure that the project sticks to budget, sticks to time, and sticks to scope? So is anybody actually going to be checking up on them? How is your organisation governed? Do you have a CEO and a board or a management committee? Who is on that, and what is their experience and capabilities? What's their bios, their background? So all of these things should be included to demonstrate the capability of your organisation to manage the project. Another way to show your assessor that you're reliable is to indicate stakeholder support. Now, in particular, government stakeholder support. So if you're going for a government grant and you show that the local government supports you or a state government department supports you in your project, then that demonstrates to them that you have government support, government backing, and government knows government. So government understands the bureaucracy, all of the things that government has to go through, the types of governance that they want. It's all understood by other government agencies. So if you've got a letter of support or something like that from another government agency, then that goes further to demonstrate that you're reliable. It shows the government agency that's assessing it that another government branch has actually worked with you previously or looked at your project and they support it. Another way to demonstrate your capability is talking about your past experience with similar projects and with grant funding. So if you have experience delivering a really similar project, that goes to demonstrate that you are reliable. They can rely on you to deliver this project properly because you've done it before. So talking about similar experience. Also with grant funding, one of the things that they're concerned about is whether you're going to be able to manage the grant funding well, whether you are capable of doing that, doing all of the reporting, all of that sort of stuff. So if you also talk about your past experience in receiving and managing grants and the fact that you've acquitted them, you've done the project successfully, there were no issues with acquittal and with managing the grant funding, that goes some way also to showing that you are reliable for the grants assessor. Another way to demonstrate your reliability is to evidence all of your claims. So if you are making a claim, so for example, if you are saying there is a certain need in your area and you evidence it, you back it up with some evidence, some statistics, some quotes, something like that evidences your claims, and you do that throughout your application. So every time you make a claim, you provide some sort of evidence to back it up. That shows that you know what you're talking about. You are providing proof in your claims, which just adds to your credibility. It makes you seem like you are not just making claims out of nowhere. You're not just using anecdotal evidence. You're actually backing up your claims with solid evidence, and it goes to your credibility. Having a well-written application all round goes to your credibility. So if you've addressed every question correctly and you've given enough information, and you've not done spelling errors, you've not done typos, all those sorts of things, that adds to your credibility as well. But when you back it up with evidence, that just shows you really do know what you're talking about. Another thing that does help with your credibility and your just demonstrating your reliability is if you have some skin in the game. So if you're willing to put up your own funding, if you're co-funding a certain amount, then it just goes to show that you want this project to be successful as much as the grant funder would want the project to be successful. You've got skin in the game. You want it to be successful. You will do everything you can to make it successful because you have also invested in it. If you're not putting in any funding, if you're a not-for-profit, for example, and you don't have funding to be able to put in, that's okay. You can still demonstrate that you have real need for this project to be successful by showing how aligned it is to your values, showing how aligned it is to your organisation's strategic direction, to your organisation's objectives. If you can really show that this project is exactly what your organisation is there for, then even though you may not be putting funding in to show that you've got some interest in the project, you're really showing that you're passionate about the project. It's what you're there for, it's what you're doing, and therefore it demonstrates that you really will do everything you can to get this project through successfully because it's your whole world, is why you exist as an organisation. So there's some ways of showing that you of how you can show an assessor that you are reliable. If you've got any questions on anything I've said, if you've got any questions on how to show you're reliable or the pandemic and what's going to happen with grant funding, please go ahead and let us know, and I will answer them. But also, if you've got any other questions on grant funding at all, that's not a problem. Let me know. So I have had one pre-question come through from Amelia, and her question was, how do I show that my project needs to be funded? So project need is absolutely key. Your project is not going to get any money if you can't demonstrate that it's needed, that your project is needed. So basically in a grant application or a business case, you're doing a bit of a needs analysis. You're showing demand for your project. The way that we do that is twofold. It's usually through statistics and stories. So what you need to do is form your argument and evidence it with statistics and with stories. So funnily enough, in the middle of this pandemic, I have my 17-year-old home, and she was writing a persuasive essay. And this is exactly what you've got to do in your grant application. It's a persuasive essay. You need to persuade your assessor that your project is needed. The way you do that is by clearly identifying the problem. What is the problem that your project will solve? This is the problem. Clearly explain what the problem is, evidence it, use statistics. We have a problem. For example, we have a problem in that we have no sporting facilities in our town. This is a problem because we have X number of youth. We have obesity levels at a certain rate. We have, and here are our health statistics for our town. So that demonstrates that there is a need for physical activity to be happening in your town. And then show that you have no other sporting facilities at all. It is this far. It will take half an hour to drive to the nearest sporting facility. There is nothing around. We're all unhealthy. We're not doing our physical activity. I've demonstrated that with statistics. And to get to the nearest sporting facility, we'd have to drive half an hour out of town. Then you can use your stories. We've got a lot of people in town who don't have cars. They don't have vehicles. They can't get to a location that's 30 minutes away. Or whatever the situation is. So back it up with the statistics and stories. So that's how we need to demonstrate the need. We need to clearly identify the problem and then show how our project solves that problem. So identify the problem, evidence it with statistics and stories, show how your project will solve that problem, will create the solution, and that's the way to evidence need. Now, your statistics can come from so many different sources. So you've got your ABS statistics, your census data, you've got all of your, Google Scholar. Just do a search on Google Scholar and you'll be able to find various different reports. But all of those sorts of statistics, go to your local, your shire, the department that's responsible for that particular area, whether it's sport, agriculture, whatever that is. They will have documents, plans, everything like that you can use to evidence the need for your project. I can go into that further, but I have also written quite a few blogs on that and done some videos on it. So have a look at my website, www.whitneyconsulting.com.au. In the library there's quite a few blogs, but there's also some video library as well. So you can go and have a look at previous videos, and I did do one on demonstrating project need specifically. So please have a look at that as well. All right, so if there's no further questions, to recap, Tara Whitney from Whitney Consulting. We do grant applications, tenders and business cases. Don't panic in terms of grant funding. It will still be available throughout the pandemic. It will probably be more, is my assessment. So get your projects in a line now. Get them really well developed. What government is going to want is shovel ready. They're going to want your project to be ready to commence ASAP, to get the money spent, to get jobs created. And in terms of showing the assessor you're reliable, show them the capability of your organisation by talking about the project management, talking about the governance, talking about your past experience with both grants and similar projects, attaching or talking about stakeholder support, particularly government stakeholders if they support your project, evidencing all your claims, putting up a really quality application in the first place, and having some skin in the game, whether that's by co-funding or if it's by showing the alignment between this project and the reason for your organisation existing, and therefore you are definitely interested in making sure this project succeeds. I hope that helps you all. We do a Facebook Live like this once every 2 months. So keep an eye out on this page for information about the next Facebook Live. If you have a particular topic on grants, tenders and business cases that you would like covered in a Facebook Live, please don't hesitate to send me an email, Tara, Tara, at Whitney, Whitney, consulting.com.au. Send me an email and I can certainly do a Facebook Live on the particular topic that you're interested in. Hope you all are keeping well and healthy, and I will virtually see you all soon. Thanks. Bye.